Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome to another poker vlog. Today we're going to be looking at a session I played at Casino Niagara. The game's going to be 10-25 and this session was absolutely bananas. My stack was going up and down. It was a lot of fun to play, so I hope you guys enjoy. Let's get this vlog started. The game is 10-25 hold'em and we buy in for 2,500, our usual 100 big blind strategy. Right off the bat, we look down at pocket aces. Under the gun limps $25, hijack opens the action to $75, cutoff calls, and with 3 players already in the pot, I'm gonna 3-bet to a nice size of 300. The action folds around back to the cutoff and he calls. And this is a mistake that I see a lot of players make, and that's double flatting. It's pretty bad because his range was already capped before my 3-bet, and now it's definitely super narrow. In fact, I'm gonna let you guys in on a little secret. When players double flat, they often have a pocket pair and they want to set mine. The only problem is he's only started with $2,000, so he's not even getting a great price to set mine. With that said, we go to a flop heads up. Let's just hope he misses. The flop comes Jack 9-5, 2 diamonds and a club. He checks. And this is a board where I'm probably going to just bet my entire range. If the flop was something a little bit connected like Jack 10-9, I would be doing a lot more checking. But the 5 is really disconnected and he shouldn't really have it in his range. So I see bet $225 here. He check raises me to 650, and at this point, he pretty much always only has some sort of set or flush draw. But me holding the ace of diamonds blocks a lot of his flush draws, so he has a set a lot of the times here, but my hand's just too strong to fold. I can still hit running diamonds or an ace to save me even if he does have a set, so I call. The turn's the 6 of hearts and things get really crazy as he now goes all in for $1,200. At this point, something in my gut just tells me he probably just has me beat, but folding aces here would be crazy. I tell myself if he's got it, then he's got it. He didn't play pre-flop correctly, and if he's got a set, we just have to pay him off. So we make the call. He gets really excited and asks if I have aces and turns over pocket 9s for a set. We only have 2 outs to save me, and it's not looking good. And boom, the miracle ace comes on the river to give him the bad beat in a pot of over $4,500. What an amazing way to start the session. This next hand, I didn't peel my hand for the camera, but I have ace-king here in the cutoff. MP opens to $75 and I 3-bet to $225. The big blind calls to $225, which is another bad strategy. If you're the type of person who likes the flat 3-bets, don't, because you're facing 2 uncapped ranges and now both of us are incentivized to raise you out of the hand. However, MP decides not to 4-bet and just calls, and we go 3 ways to the flop. The flop comes a clean ace-4-3 rainbow. They both check, and this is a great flop for me. I have the best hand here almost always. I bet a small size of $250 to get weaker aces like ace-queen and ace-jack to call, and some strong pocket pairs like maybe pocket 10s or pocket jacks. But unfortunately, they both fold without much thought, and we can just move on to the next hand. In this hand, we pick up ace-king once again, but this time on the button. UTG plus 2 opens for $75. MP, hijack, and cutoff all call. There's 4 people in the pot before me, and with a premium like ace-king, I definitely want a 3-bet here. I make it 400 to go. UTG plus 2 is the only one that should be able to continue with his hand, and when he folds, I expect the rest to follow suit. But then, MP limp jams all in for $2,150. Hijack and cutoff both fold, and I don't know what's wrong with players today, but this is just a really bad move once again. His range is already capped, so his jam makes no sense unless he's slow playing aces here. And with a monster like ace-king, I'm never folding, especially since I block aces. I flick in the chip to make the call and put him on a hand like pocket 10s, hoping that I'm just 3-betting light and I'm trying to steal the dead money. I'm guessing that's his thought process. I'm pretty happy when the flop comes ace-7 deuce. Now I'm beating all his pocket pairs that didn't hit a set. Unfortunately, the turn is the 9 of hearts and the river's a 3 of hearts. The board now completes a 4 flush and I don't have a heart. The villain says something I really don't want to hear.
Got a flush.
I can't believe it. He shows ace 10 offsuit with the 10 of hearts. The pot of over $4,600 slips through our fingertips. We were up about $2,800 before this hand, but now most of that is gone and we're only up about $700. Moving right along that traumatic ace-king hand, we get ace-king again, but this time in the big blind. Let's hope this time luck is on our side. UTG plus 2 limps. Hijack opens to 150 and I just call. And the big blind is the only position where I would actually do this. For all those that are thinking I'm crazy for not 3-betting ace-king here, let me just quickly show you guys what GTO Wizard thinks. So as you guys can see here, GTO Wizard actually doesn't mind just calling in the big blind when the hijack opens. We should really only be 3-betting here about 6.1% of the time. In fact, let's say if an earlier position opens, like UTG, we should actually just call with ace-king here about 80% of the time. So hands like ace-queen and queens just never 3-bet versus a UTG open. Remember, the limp from UTG plus 2 does mess up these solutions quite a bit, so keep that in mind. Anyway, the action goes back to UTG plus 2, and he decides to limp raise for $525. I'm not really surprised there. The hijack now re-raises to $1,400, and given this action, it's very likely that either one of these two players are beating me here. I only committed $150 in this hand, and it seems like an easy fold, but there are some special dynamics happening in this table. As we saw from previous hands, people don't really like folding pre-flop, so hijack should be trying to punish the two weaker ranges. UTG plus 2 is weak because he limped initially, and my range is also kept because I only flatted. Anyway, I somehow talked myself into not folding, and since calling half my stack here doesn't really make any sense, I decided to just go all in for $3,110. UTG plus 2 looks pained and he folds, wasting $525. The hijack snaps and tells me the bad news. He's got aces. I now need a miracle to save me, but the flop doesn't look good. It comes out 10-10-7. I need running kings or running queen jack to win this hand. The turn comes a 5 to have me drawing dead, and the 9 on the river seals the deal. We are now down $2,500, all from ace king. Not much more to say. I think I played that hand pretty badly. I should have just folded when the hijack made it 1400. I don't really care what happens anymore. Just please don't give me ace king again. We now reload for 2500 and pick up 9-7 offsuit in the big blind. UTG plus 1 limps. The small blind limps. I don't have a great hand here. I'm happy to see a free flop. We check and go 3 ways to the flop. The flop comes 9-8-4, 2 hearts and a diamond. The small blind bets out $60. We have top pair with a couple of backdoor draws, so we call the 60, and the UTG plus 1 also calls. We are still 3 ways going to the turn. The turn's an interesting card. It's the 10 of hearts. We now have an up and down straight flush draw. Small blind checks, and I decide to put out a small bet of 75 here to start building a small pot in case I do hit the river. UTG plus 1 calls, and the small blind also throws in the calling chips. The river's the deuce of hearts, the small blind checks. Now we hit a flush draw, but with our 7 of hearts, it's not a good flush draw. We have showdown equity here. I don't see a reason to bet and get raised and then have to fold, so I check, and UTG plus 1 checks as well. I show my hand here, the other 2 players muck, and we recover some much needed chips. Alright, for the next hand, we pick up the hand of the day, ace king again, in the cutoff. We open to $75, and the button, with a very short stack of only $800, calls the 75. The small blind, who's a weaker player, 3-bets me to $375. I give my hand a chance to redeem itself. I go all in for $2,900. The button calls for a short $800. The small blind snaps, and I get a really bad feeling again. The flop is not good for us. It runs out 10-4-4. We need to hit an ace or a king because one of these guys behind me most likely has a pocket pair. The turn is a 4, which is of no help. Then a miracle happens. The river is another 4, rivering the nuts. Quad 4s of ace kicker. We hope both of these guys have some sort of pocket pair now. The button shows pocket sevens, and the small blind opens up ace queen of clubs. We chop the button's money, and we both make about $400. So glad we got through that one unscathed. And it's finally time for the GTO hand of the day. About 3 hours into our session, we get pocket kings in MP. UTG opens to $75, and with the second best hand in Hold'em, I 3-bet to $225. It folds around back to UTG, and he makes the call. We go heads up to the flop. The flop comes Jack 10-10 rainbow. He checks, and this flop's not bad for us. We really only need to worry about ace 10, pocket jacks, or pocket 10s. We're still ahead of a lot of villains' hands, so we bet 200, just under half pot. And we want to get called by hands like queen jack, king jack, pocket queens, or lower pocket pairs like 10s or 9s. He makes the call, and we hope to see a low card on the turn. Unfortunately, the turn is terrible. It's the queen of diamonds, which hits a ton of villains' range. Ace king and 9-8 now makes a straight. Pocket queens is also in his range, which now hits a set. So when he checks, I'm just going to check back to pot control. The river comes a brick. It's the 7 of clubs, and he checks. I'm pretty sure my hand is good here. I'm going to go for some thin value. I bet $200 to try to get a crying call from a jack or a queen. But in the end, he folds, and we pick up the pot. We get a little bit closer to breaking even. Okay, so now let's check the hand with GTO Wizard. For any new viewers out there, GTO Wizard is a library of pre-solved GTO solutions. It is essential to crush any game from high to low stakes poker. You can use the link in the description for a free 1-month trial and 10% off your next dedicated subscription. Going back to the analysis, pre-flop is pretty standard, UTG opens, and of course, we 3-bet with pocket kings, UTG calls, and the flop is the jack of clubs, 10 of spades, and 10 of hearts. Of course, villain's gonna check to me as the pre-flop aggressor, and on a paired board in a 3-bet pot, I generally want to just range bet. If we take a look at our range breakdown, we crush villain in the 63rd to 92nd percentile, where I can have 2 pairs like aces and kings, and the strongest 2 pair he can have is pocket queens and ace jack. The only part where he has a slight lead is maybe the 93rd to 99th percentile, where he actually has more pocket 10s, pocket jack, and ace 10 than we do. To see why, let's go back to the pre-flop. We can see UTG will always open pocket jacks, pocket 10s, and ace 10 suited with 100% frequency. However, we rarely have those in our range. In fact, if you look at ace 10 suited, pocket jacks, and pocket 10s, we should fold like 85% of the time. So going back to the breakdown, the lead that we have in the upper large part of our range makes this flop a 100% range c-bet. GTO recommends me to bet half pot here, but I bet a bit less, betting 200 into 585, which is about 33% pot, but that's okay too. The turn's the queen of diamonds, and I'm going to assume that it is a very bad card for us. If we look at the ranges tab, yeah, so we lost our lead in the upper part of our range that we used to have because ace, king, queens, and 8-9 are all in 100% of villain's range, and that part that we were ahead before with pocket kings and pocket aces is now behind. And that's why GTO tells us to check very often here with pocket kings, and we did identify that correctly and check behind. The river's the 7 of clubs, and when villain checks, we have the option to either check back or bet 35% for small value here. I only bet about 20% of the pot. Of course, GTO bets the 35% pot to target hands like king queen, ace jack, ace queen, pocket 9s. I think overall I'm pretty happy with how I played the hand, and I hope you guys enjoyed that GTO analysis. Let's get on with the vlog. This next hand is a fun one. We've been playing for about 4 hours now, and I'm stuck 1.3k. We pick up 6-9 of spades on the button and open the action up to $75. My buddy Stan 3-bets from the small blind to 300 and the big blind flats. Normally, this is just a fold for me, but I'm here to play some poker. I make a very speculative call, and we go 3 ways to the flop. The flop comes 8-6-5 rainbow. Small blind checks, and the big blind puts out a bet of $400. He started the hand short and only has about $800 behind. We have middle pair, but a lot of our cards can improve our hand. The problem is, some cards like a 9 or 6, even though it gives us trips or 2-pair, might still be behind the villain. With that said, we do have a gutter and backdoor spades, so we make the call. Now small blind's in the tank. After thinking for about a minute, he decides to go all in for 1.8k. The big blind doesn't take too long before also going all in. Remember, he's short, so he only puts 1200 total in the middle. Now we have a decision to make. It's 1400 to call to win a pot of about 5100. I need about 22% equity to make this call. A gutter and backdoor flush draw already gives me enough equity, and I have some rare backdoor boats, so I make the call. The turn's pretty decent. It's the king of spades, which gives us a flush draw, and the river is beautiful. It's the 2 of spades. Small blind shows pocket 8s for a set of 8s, and the big blind shows pocket kings for a turn set of kings. Maybe this is a lesson on why you don't slow play pocket kings. Now, I show how I backdoored my flush to crack both sets, and with that, we win the pot and get unstuck. Now we're actually up 1.8k. This will be the last hand of the vlog. We get pocket kings under the gun and open to $50. MP, who we stacked in the previous hand, reloads for $1,000 and already has $10 committed since he missed the small blind, and calls for $40 more. We go heads up to the flop. The flop comes 10-10-8, 2 clubs and a heart. I c-bet for $50 here, and he puts in a raise to $275. My hand is too strong to fold, and I know he's a bit tilted since he just got stacked by me and wants revenge. I think there's only one move I can consider here, and that's just going all in. No point in slow playing this, so that's what I do. I go all in, and he calls. The dealer puts out a 7 of clubs, which isn't good for me because I expect him to have flush draw a lot here, and we don't have the king of clubs to save us, but the river is perfect. It's the 4th club, but it's the king of clubs, giving us a boat. We show villain the bad news, and he says that we rivered him, and shows Jack 9 offsuit. He turned the straight with an up and down straight flush draw. At the conclusion of this hand, we are up $2,990 after being stuck 2.5k at our lowest point. We end this session a few hands later to book a nice comeback win.